Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in again. This is another edition of the WVSports.com video podcast, Musings from the Mountains. I am Keenan Cummings, managing editor for the site.
And I'm Patrick Kotnik, staff writer for the site.
We are going to talk about quite a few things today. Neil Brown dropped some interesting nuggets, personnel related, quarterback related, and a few other things in his press conference. We're going to look back briefly at the Iowa State game, and I do mean briefly, and kind of move ahead a little bit to Oklahoma. West Virginia the past 2 weeks has been in the football game, even with a backup quarterback last week. Obviously, Austin Kendall got hurt on the first play. 21-17 against Texas, 21-14 against Iowa State heading into the fourth quarter. Outscored 38-14 over the past two games in that period. You talk about the fourth quarter, hold up your Men in Black neuralizer, forget it happened if you're West Virginia. You got to move forward. I think that struggles are across the board. I think that you take away from it that they're close. They've been competitive, probably in games they shouldn't have been competitive when you look at the rosters of the two teams in West Virginia, but competitive doesn't mean anything. No one's going to care at the end of the year that they were close going to the fourth quarter. The point is they've kind of melted down, Pat.
Exactly what you said, Keenan. I mean, we knew coming into this season that this was a young and inexperienced team. Now, I feel like, some positives that you can take away from this is that, this young team is fighting. They've shown a lot of fight, especially defensively. I think, they're doing a lot of great things on that side of the ball, Vic Koning's defense. But like you said, at the end of the day, the rest of the Big 12 isn't going to feel sorry for them. I mean, they're 0-2 since the bye week. There's still a lot of room to grow for them on all sides of the ball. But like you said, they're showing some fight. But at the end of the day, these past two losses, they go down as losses. There's no moral victories at this point.
It's going to be tough to grow in Norman, Oklahoma this weekend. I'm just going to kind of put that out there. That's a tough spot for West Virginia. 3-3 club going out to play arguably one of the top three teams in the country. I think Oklahoma's just been fantastic this year, offensively and especially defensively.
A lot of improvement.
Yeah, we'll dive into them as we always do on our preview later this week. For now, we'll save that. Kind of jump into what Neil had to talk about today. Injuries again. Injuries have been pretty much at the forefront for the latter part of this early season schedule. West Virginia's lost Vandarius Cowan, now for the season after a knee injury. Got hurt in the game, came back with a brace, but obviously something going on there. He's going to have surgery later this week to repair what had happened. Austin Kendall's still banged up, considered questionable right now. I think that leads into some interesting conversation. If Austin Kendall can't play, what does West Virginia do? I think Neil Brown left the door open today. He did not declare Jack Allison as the starter. I didn't say he wouldn't be, but he didn't declare him as the starter. I thought it was interesting that he said, we have a plan. Does that plan involve Trey Lowe? Maybe.
It might.
Does it involve Daggy? Probably not, but I think it'll be interesting to see if he doesn't play. Now, will Austin play? I don't know right now. I don't think any of us know. I think Neil's going to give us an update later this week, likely on his radio show, so we'll have an idea. But the way they're going to kind of manufacture the reps in practice is they're going to see which guy's ready to go. If Austin's ready to go, he's going to get those reps. If not, it'll probably be a mix between Trey Lowe and Jack Allison. And that was a problem last week. They had a lot of game plan specific things to attack Iowa State, and when it came time for Jack to go in there, they had to really scale back the playbook. Probably only used around 30% of what they could use because they had to use really what he was comfortable.
And really, it was a tough situation for Jack Allison to be in. Yeah, I know it wasn't his greatest performance, but I mean, I felt like it was definitely a step up, a giant step up from that lone series he played against Missouri that ended in a pick six. He looked a little bit more comfortable out there, I thought, but like you said, they had a game plan around Austin Kendall. Obviously, with Jack Allison going in, they had to scale back a little bit. They had to call plays that Jack was comfortable with, so they're limited in that aspect.
Hakeem Bailey is going to be out for the first half. That is bad news for West Virginia after getting ejected for targeting. Even worse news when you consider the other starting senior cornerback, Keith Washington, is still questionable. Was banged up with what Neil called a muscle injury. Missed all of the game against Iowa State. Questionable right now to whether he's going to play this weekend. If he doesn't, you will most likely see West Virginia roll out in that first half on the road against a team that's averaging over 50 points a game with two true freshman cornerbacks. Less than optimal when you're going against a team of that caliber.
And you mentioned, and he had some praise for Nick Troy Fortune, who started in place of Keith Washington against Iowa State. And he mentioned Tate Mayo. That's a guy, a true freshman, that they wanted a redshirt. But at this point, I mean, I mean, he has to play at this point. Whether you can redshirt him, you can maybe still redshirt him later down the road, but he's going to be the next man up.
Yeah, when you only got 4 or 5 guys that can play to start with, one of them's banged up, another one got hurt to start the year, and Drayshawn Miller, haven't seen a snap out of him. So you only have so many guys you can play. It's a spot that was already thin, and now injuries are starting to take their toll a little bit. The good news is Akeem Bailey will be back in the second half regardless. I'm interested to see what happens now at the Bandit. Vandarius Cowan injured. What will they do there? I think what was really helping them was splitting reps between Qualls and Cowan. He wasn't getting a ton of reps, but at least enough to take pressure off and make Qualls more productive. So Zach Sandwich is a guy, maybe even potentially a freshman, and Jarrett Bartlett get some burn there, but they're going to have to find somebody because it's not realistic to ask that spot, given what it has to do in pass rushing and dropping out, to play 60, 70 snaps a game. And you might see 90 this weekend, depending on how fast Oklahoma can go.
And it's such a shame, too, because, I mean, you mentioned Vandarius Cowan. He had to sit out all of last season due to transfer rules. That was suspended for the first 4 games. And now he has this happen, and I believe it was a second game back. It's an unfortunate situation for Cowan, and especially that Bandit position you mentioned, Keenan. They were starting to produce a little bit more at that position, starting to maybe get to splitting the snaps there between Qualls and Cowan. But now it's next man up. I would think that you're going to see Sandwich get some more reps, and could be the possibility of maybe moving somebody there for depth purposes.
Yeah, I think you'll see him look at a lot of different things. Tevin Bush, latest victim to the ever-growing transfer portal. He sat down with Neil Brown. They had a discussion. Things haven't gone how either party wanted him to go this year. Bush has been banged up. There's been some things going on, behind the scenes. I think it's interesting that it's over. Tevin Bush, this is a guy that in game 1 was your MVP. He had 4 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown. Since then, he's been relatively quiet. Some of that's due to injury, but he hasn't played an offensive snap in the last 2 games. And now he's not going to be a West Virginia Mountaineer anymore. Going to move closer to home, find an option there. But for West Virginia, it's just another player that's not going to be available to them. And that list continues to grow either by injury, attrition. This started back before in the spring, before really even Neil Brown took over, when you consider David Long going pro. And just those guys with eligibility left that are continuing to fall off the map. It's forcing your hand to play a lot of these true freshmen that maybe you don't want to play. And West Virginia is playing 13 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen already. That number is going to grow. Expect them to play as many as they can, trying to take advantage of that 4-game redshirt rule. They want to try to preserve years while still getting quality snaps out of guys. It's kind of the best of both worlds. But the good thing about these freshman guys is they will become sophomores and juniors and seniors, and a lot of those growing pains you're seeing right now are going to pay off down the road. One other interesting personnel item I thought was Neil confirmed again that Martell Pettaway is indeed going to redshirt. Some poetic justice for him. A guy that lost an entire season earlier in his career, 10 games in. He was 10 games into his freshman season on the bench, had to play against Iowa State of all teams, almost ironically. Mm-hmm. And there you go. His year's gone. Under the old rules, if you played 2 or 3 snaps, it was over, unless you could get a medical redshirt. So poetic justice. He's going to get a year back. I think it's good for him. It's good for the program. Good for him in the sense that he'll get a year to get better, a year to develop. He'll be that lead guy in the backfield next year with Letty Brown. Good for the program in the sense that they keep that scholarship number, and they don't have to use a scholarship to go get another running back. They got a lot of needs they got to go around and address, and I think it's important that they're able to keep him in the fold from a leadership perspective and a scholarship perspective. Other than that, Patrick, anything that really stood out to you?
Only other thing I'll add is defensive coordinator Vic Koenig mentioning, he was asked about the team's red zone defense. He said it 100% has to get better. He talked about that a little bit. He said it's not really from a schematic standpoint. It's nothing that they're doing. They just got to get better with what they're doing, and especially against a high potent offense like Oklahoma. I mean, they're going to have to do all they can to keep them out of the end zone.
Yeah, easier said than done. Like I said, we'll jump into that here in a few days and kind of give you a breakdown of what they do, what West Virginia is going to try to do. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see who plays quarterback. That's the number one question that needs answered. But we know who's playing quarterback for Oklahoma, and he's pretty good in Jalen Hurts. Scholarship numbers, we're speaking about those a little bit earlier. West Virginia's trying to fill their class. They have 13 commitments right now, probably about 8 or 9 spots because you got to count some forward from this past year. Some new offers out. I think it's interesting that you're seeing West Virginia offer more junior college players. That means they need guys that can play right away. You got those freshmen. You want to kind of even that out, try to even the class distribution out. So a couple new offers out. They did offer a high school kid that visited over the weekend, and Avery Dunn. West Virginia's right in the mix there from Ohio. He's one of those Bandit linebackers that West Virginia needs to get more bodies at. So he's going to take an official visit in December. A couple other guys are setting official visits in December. This staff has been pretty clear. They don't want to do in-season officials unless they have to. So I think you're going to start to see some movement on the recruiting trail as guys that are close get that last little push and I kind of fall over the edge and start making the decision. Then, of course, once guys start visiting, taking official visits in December, you'll have a good idea of where West Virginia stands. I think that 7 or 8 is safe. I think they save 1 or 2 just to try to take some transfers probably down the road as you saw this past year. But things are progressing there. I am hearing positive things on the recruiting trail from recruits, from people I talk with. And the 2021 class has a chance to be really good. It goes back to that trust the climb mantra that they've been selling hardcore, and I think that recruits are doing that, and for the most part, you fans are as well. So once again, thank you for tuning in. This has been another fun edition. We'll be back later this week, but thanks for tuning in again to Musings from the Mountains.